So this is where we finished in the last video. We've got our back stitches on either end of the pencil case top edge, and we have the space left in the middle for inserting the zipper. Now what we need to do is keep the fabric lying in this position, so you've got your drawn line, your drawn sewing line visible, and your smaller piece of fabric is sitting on top of the larger piece of fabric. Right, so what we're going to do is we're actually going to create a temporary row of stitching. Temporary means that it'll only be there for a short time, and then we're actually going to take it out later on. Once we've put the zipper in, we take the temporary stitching out so that we can open the zip. But to be able to put the zip in accurately, we have to temporarily close this hole. So you're going to need your pins. You're going to need, there's my pin cushion, I've got some cute little things on it. So you're going to need your pins, and what we're going to do is we're going to pin all the way along this edge here. Okay, so practicing what we did before, and so we're actually going to put them in sideways so they sit at a right angle to the edge of the fabric. It holds it really comfortably, and it's just a good habit to get into, to pin in that direction. So we're going to go down through both layers of fabric. Be careful not to scratch your mum's dining room table. Down underneath both layers of fabric, lift your fabric up and push the end of the pin through. Then next pin, down through both layers of fabric, push the fabric up and pin right through. Again, down through both layers of fabric, underneath, lift your fabric and push it through. Now, you don't have to have 6 million pins here. In fact, I'd recommend against it. But you do want to have enough, probably spaced about 4 centimetres apart or so, maybe 5. That's fine. Okay, so now my 2 pieces of fabric are pinned together along the top edge, ready for temporarily stitching that hole closed. So in order to do that, we're going to use a stitch called running stitch. Now, some people call it different things. It can be called running stitch, it can be called stay stitching, it can be called basting stitch, but for the purposes of this video, I'm going to call it running stitch. So I've got my thread ready to go. I have my knots tied in the end, and this is, you've probably done this stitching before if you've done hand stitching, because it's the most basic stitch that exists. Your stitching doesn't have to be perfect, but we do still need it fairly close together so that it holds the hole closed correctly while we're sewing the zipper in. So we can start at the top, on the top layer of the fabric, and we go down on the line, scoot under about 1 centimetre, and you're going to come up on the line. Pull the knot so it anchors, and then we're going to go down on the line and up on the line. Pull it so it sits flat. Don't pull it too tight because it'll do this, and we don't want that at all. You want it to sit nice and flat. As you come to the pins and you pass them, take them out so you don't prick yourself if you don't need to. And then we just continue sewing. So I'm stitching, they're about 1 centimetre apart, and if you really wanted to, you could actually mark centimetre or ½ centimetre marks along that sewing line if you wanted to. Another alternative is to do that on practice fabric first, so that you actually get an idea of what that distance is, so you don't need to rule them onto this pencil case. Okay, I'm going to keep going. I'm going through both layers of fabric, all the way through both, nice and slowly, down on the line, up on the line, pull it flat, down on the line, up on the line, nice and slowly, down on the line, up on the line. And we do that the whole way across, just like this. Fabric sitting nice and flat. I'm not pulling it too tightly. My stitches are small so that they will hold the fabric firmly when we need it to do that. Down on the line, up on the line, the whole way along to the end of the hole. Try and keep them on the line. You can see a couple of mine have gone wonky, not too bad, but try really hard to get them on the line. So once again, practice if you think you're going to need it. All right, I'm coming close to the end. So what I'm going to do, I don't need to knot it off really tightly at this point because that just creates a difficult knot that you have to try and unpick later on. All I'm going to do is I'm going to finish here, and I'm actually going to go back, do a back stitch, but do 2 stitches on top of each other, and then cut the ends off, cut the end off. Okay, so that is firm enough to hold it, but easy enough to unpick later on. So you can see I've got my hand stitching there ready to go. Okay, the next step, we're ready to start putting the zipper in. So what we want to do is we want to open the fabric, open your pencil case up, and you can actually see that it's stitched together along that seam line. We're going to open it like this, and you're going to finger press the seam allowances open like this, nice and firmly, really firmly, okay, just like this. Press them with your fingers. Okay, ready to go. And I'll see you in a minute for the zipper.